Friday, July the 8th. July the 8th, it's gonna be a crappy weekend, John. We got rain coming. When they say it's 100% chance of rain, I don't even think the weather guys can screw this up. So we're fortunate today. We got a bona fide rock star in our midst here on TJRS. We don't get a lot of stars, much less rock stars. And with that, here's Riggo.
Thank you, Todd. And it gives me great pleasure. By the way, I forgot I was going to give Mark a little intro applause.
Yes, rock star applause.
Are used to. I forgot what it was like. It's been about 40 years since I heard anything along those lines. But anyway, Mark Bryan from Hootie the Blowfish is joining us this morning. A local guy, I might add. Mark, thank you so much for dropping by. I think the best way to get this started, because I actually did something I never do, Mark, because I knew you were coming on, obviously, and I actually did some homework. I'm not that kind of guy.
I'm honored.
Did Lisa Marie grade it?
I don't think you can grade this. It looks like hieroglyphics, kind of. I don't. I mean, even me might have a little trouble reading this. But the first thing I wanted to ask you was, and it wasn't necessarily the way I had this set up, but it makes you are a rock star, and I appreciate what you just said about well, I don't know, I'm a rock musician, but no, you're a rock star, and what I wanted to ask was that. It kind of relates to Allen Iverson. Practice. How much do you practice, and do you practice? Because I hated practice.
Man.
And I want to know how you feel about it.
Yeah, so when I was growing up, I loved playing so much that you ended up practicing by just nature of doing what you love. And so that's how I got my 10,000 hours. And same with Hootie and the Blowfish, going out and just playing show after show after show. And then sometimes even when there's only 10 people there, you still play like there's 1,000 people there. And that's how you get those 10,000 hours. And I think that was really effective coming up. And then nowadays I practice things like piano, or like I'm learning ukulele these days, just kind of newer instruments. And it's fun to play piano, but I'm not as proficient on it as I am on guitar or mandolin or whatever. So I have to practice to get good at it. But usually what I'm doing is like practicing by learning songs or writing songs. I'm not really doing a lot of scales. I should be, but it's just how much time you want to put in, just like anything.
You brought up something very interesting, because I remember years ago, what's his name? The kid he's not a kid anymore. He played for Dallas and he went to Minnesota. And he's running for senator.
Herschel Walker.
Herschel Walker said he loves football so much, and you may feel the same way. And I'm curious to get your opinion, that it wouldn't make any difference if nobody was in the stands. He just loves to play football. I want to ask you. You said it didn't make any difference if you were playing in front of 10 people, or 10,000 people. Is it it's the same feeling for you?
It is. It's there's something, I guess, like the muse or whatever you want to call it. There's some deep inspiration that comes from playing music. And even when I'm just sitting around alone playing ukulele these days, I get such a thrill out of it. I feel it's a passionate thing to do. And so whether I'm doing it in front of a bunch of people or alone writing songs, it's something I still feel really strongly. Yeah.
That's amazing, because if I got 10 people in the in the stands, I'm heading back to the locker room. Because I need.
You don't do wind sprints at your house, or have guys come over and and give you a little. None of that.
No, just the burglars that come at
Well,
night.
it's passion versus practice, right? So you were so passionate about it that it really wasn't practice to you growing up.
Bingo.
Exactly.
And then those rare moments are when you're in front of 10,000, 15, whatever, 1,000 people, and everything comes to a moment. They're all singing back to you. That's sort of the.
Well, see, that's what I feed off of.
Yes, and that's the most amazing part of what I do, for sure. But if I wasn't writing those songs and putting that time in to make people feel something, then you wouldn't get the whole circle.
And that's you bring up something I think that's very interesting, in the difference between what you do, art and sports. Because years ago, when I was young and dumb, which now I'm old and dumb, but that's not a big deal, really. But I always thought of myself as an artist. And then I realized you're really not an artist. You get beat up and you beat people up for a living. That's not hardly art.
Yeah, but you take a look at a picture of you with the afro when you came in the league. That was art right there. I'm telling you.
Well, that part might be true.
And the mohawk, very
the
artistic.
Mohawk, that was art.
Very artistic.
Art.
Black leather vest.
Well, I don't know. You had the bow. Was that the Minnesota game? Because you were like acting,
and I got that from B.B. King, believe it or not. I saw him at a concert one time,
the
and
bow.
this is the way he would cross his arms, and he bowed to the audience.
Oh, wow.
I think it was either, but he had a brother, and now I'm starting to think it might have been his brother, but it doesn't make any difference. But I remember it stuck in the back of my mind,
great.
so I'm coming off the field against Minnesota. I don't know if you recall that playoff game. And, and I can't believe, actually, I think Gibbs took me out of the game. So the crowd, because the game was over with, and I mean, I never knew it, and I figured it out afterwards. I didn't know what else to do. The crowd's cheering, so I did what Beefy did. And I tried
amazing. It was amazing.
Give everybody one. I remember Edward Bender Williams said, "That's one of the most amazing things I've ever seen in sport." And I thought, yeah, okay. That's
So that wasn't rehearsed,
taken.
huh? Riggo, you hadn't rehearsed that, nothing in front of the mirror.
It's a great highlight.
It was just it was one of those things that hit me.
It was apropos,
if I'm not mistaken, they've used that as at the end of some of your highlight reels. Like that's if I remember correctly.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. So speaking of which, Mark, so you grow up here, you went to Seneca?
Seneca Valley.
And was your family was it all burgundy and gold, all Redskins?
Big time. It goes so far back that my grandfather on my mom's side, Raleigh Hildebrand, moved from Atlanta to D.C. to work with his uncles at Rock Creek Bottling Company and bought tickets in 1937. And
Wow.
kept them all the way through our RFK.
So that would have been the Braves, right?
Wow, yeah, when they first came down here.
Yeah, exactly. And then bought them right when they moved to RFK, and they started taking me when I was a little kid. And I have some amazing memories, a couple of which I want to share because you'll remember some of these. There was first of all, one time I went to a preseason game, and the opening game that season was going to be against Dallas, and some guy took a Dallas pennant and set it on fire in front of me. I was like 11 or 12 years old.
Yeah,
That's the most amazing thing I've ever seen. Yeah,
fire.
And then and you'll remember this, we beat the Cowboys on a Monday night in a playoff game, or it might have been a Monday night game that leading up to where both teams were going to the playoffs. It was a huge win. And people were just pouring champagne. I remember walking on those ramps in RFK and just getting champagne poured all over me. It was so fun. I'll never forget that.
Now they drink it. Because they got to kill the pain.
In the suites, and they're sipping it because I can't watch it.
And
anymore.
I also did programs for one season.
You sold programs?
I did sell programs.
You were slinging programs at RFK.
And then I also went to the last game at RFK, which I'll never forget. And I went to my grandfather's seats and kicked out the back part of the section and saved. I still have it in my man cave.
You had tickets all the way through to the end at RFK.
Yeah, into the new stadium.
And you went into the new stadium?
Yes, into the new stadium. My uncle kept them because he had the same name, and we got to keep them for a long time. And then they lost them, but I just bought them on my own at that point until about 6 years ago, and then I stopped. That's where I'm at now. I'm not saying I won't do it ever again.
You're on hold.
As I've gotten older, I really like watching Sunday Ticket and all that, just being at home, and you can see all the games, and I play fantasy and all that. So, I'll have the Skins on one screen, and then the
the Commanders on another.
The Sunday Ticket.
Redskin highlights over here.
All I say is Skins. I'm sorry, I just say Skins now.
You're better off watching Skin highlights than Commanders over here.
Yeah.
That would probably
But we
work best.
digress.
Exactly.
I'd love to know, Mark, so were you there for most games, all the games? So what was the biggest memory of a game that you were like, were you there when the stadium was bouncing, some of the playoff run?
Probably good for about 4 games a season most of my life, something like that. That Monday night win that I wanted to bring up was a big one because that was back when you were playing, I think. And then I remember a game I went to with my dad, and it was in the late 90s. You guys might remember this. It was a 6-6 tie against the Giants. It might have been a Sunday nighter.
Barn burner.
And my dad was like, I'm never coming to another professional event again. He was so disappointed in the 6-6 tie.
That's the way it ended?
Yeah. That was
in the 90s?
That was at the new stadium.
I remember that.
Yeah.
I do remember that. That's when you're like going.
It was like Michael Westbrook might have had a
Oh,
penalty
my
at the
God.
end, some stupid
the
penalty.
Heath Schuler, Michael Westbrook era.
Yes. Yeah. Anyway.
That left a mark on all of us.
But but it's just so many games over the years, and it's a lot of fun. Always going with friends, and
Did you make many playoff games?
a few.
Wait, I take it you were at
There
that time.
haven't been many since I've been an adult. I mean,
Yeah.
Well, that's
there
what
is
made
that.
me think maybe because obviously in the early '80s you would have still been in high school?
Yeah, and
Okay,
we
so-
didn't get to go to those playoffs games because the adults would always take them. So I always got to go to the regular season stuff.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
But John, that's what I try to impress upon Riggo, and where it's kind of hard for him with his stature in this town and understanding what those Sundays meant to families generationally and what that did for this community. That in that 10-year stretch, we played in 4 Super Bowls and won 3, and we were the New England Patriots of that era. We were that dominant.
It's true.
And
the Gibbs era was amazing.
40 years ago.
I would even say that the Redskins were somewhat pivotal in the beginning of Hootie and the Blowfish, and I'll say it like this. Dean's dad and my dad both went to BCC and were buddies from high school. And so Dean and I knew each other growing up, and I remember going over to Dean's house for football Sunday to watch the Skins with my dad. We were about 13, 14, and he had a bass in the corner. And I had started playing guitar, and I was like, "Oh, you play bass now?" And I don't even think we watched the second half of the game. We were just sitting there jamming. Yeah, and so then we started a high school band, and then we went on to both go to University of South Carolina. Met Darius. The rest is history. But
wow,
I started jamming with Dean on a Redskins Sunday in his basement when we were about 13 or 14
We said you
years old. We're still in a band together to this day. Dean and I.
That's pretty
cool,
incredible.
Yeah.
That is. I'm kind of as you were growing up. I mean, did you know at some point that music was your calling? I mean, obviously,
that's
because
interesting. You asked that because I was a big basketball player. I was really into it. Wanted to play in high school and everything. And my dad was a basketball coach, and he would do summer league under Gene Dunn at Seneca Valley. So I was a gym rat. And he noticed by junior year that I was sitting around playing a lot more guitar than I was practicing jump shots, which was what I used to do all the time, And he came to me. He's like, "Mark, I can tell that your passion has changed. You might want to consider." If that's what you really want to do, put your time into that instead of like kind of half-stepping basketball. And he was right. And so I made that decision and went and talked to Coach about it, and he respected the decision, and I think it was the right one.
Well, obviously, based on your success in your career so far.
Who knows? There could have been a little NBA calling here, and he could have been back. Maybe he was back with the Iverson and practice. We talking about practice, not a game. Practice.
Well, that's always possible. I was going to say the whole thing came. It wasn't anything where you went out and said, "Hey, Dad, can you buy me a guitar?" You went to a friend's house and picked up his guitar.
Well, no, eventually I did, and my dad got me my first guitar and everything, and then my mom got me my first electric guitar about a year later. So that was cool. They definitely supported it. They did the whole time. And then by the time Hootie was playing the Bayou, they were coming down there and like, wow, there's a line at the Bayou to see my son's band. Like, what's going on here? So
exactly.
They were in the whole time. They never kind of tried to talk me out of it, which is, I can honestly say that's cool about my parents.
That's amazing, really, when you think about it, because, the world of art is where people go, okay, but because you did end up going to college and you ended up getting a degree in broadcast journalism.
And I think that helped. That was important for the fact that I
Okay,
did
so
that.
It wasn't like I'm going to be a guitar player in a rock band and I'll see you later.
It helped them see that I was serious about, getting a degree and about life in general.
And having something to fall back on.
Yeah, and then if I want to try this dream, go for it. That's kind of what it was, yeah.
That's pretty cool. I mean, in fact, I think it's really cool.
Little opposite of your dad. You will play football at Kansas.
It was like a prearranged marriage.
He was also right.
Prearranged marriage.
It's like
at the time. Did you?
But I don't want to, Mark. I don't want to burst your bubble here, but I don't know if I'd say football is my passion. I mean, think about this.
Well, I was just going to ask you.
You wouldn't get the hell beat out of you every Sunday.
Well, that's what I was just going to ask you. Were you more excited about track than football during that time?
Definitely, because first of all, and this sounds a little egotistical. Of course, I'm an egomaniac, so I guess it should. but in track, it was like you. You didn't have, your success rate or whatever. It was all based on you. It was, and it's like a solo artist, really, right? Mm-hmm. The stuff that now you're
right. It's a similar thing. Yeah.
You live or you die by whatever you can produce out there. On a football field or any team sport, all of a sudden there's other people involved. And you can be the GOAT in any given Sunday, but then you can have, and it's like, the whole reason you're there is, to win.
Well,
and that's the reason track appealed more to me. And on all honesty, you didn't get beat up, it was like pretty straightforward stuff for me anyway.
Mm-hmm. And that teamwork thing, I will say from my dad being a coach and growing up around sports really helped when it came to being the band like we were with Hootie and the Blowfish, because we did everything democratically, and so the teamwork was key. And I think having that sports foundation really helped. I definitely felt that at the time.
You just brought up something now that because it's always about your teammates. Now, I've had teammates who were major league dipshits, and I ain't changing my mind about
We want
that.
names, Riggo. We want names.
No, that ain't gonna happen. But I'm thinking your band is still and you've had different guys come and go, I guess, over the years. But for the most part, you guys are.
It's been the same four since '89.
Yeah. So and even though you kind of went your own way, you still get back together.
Yeah.
So. And you're, of course, it's a small group, but obviously there's been plenty of bands before you that, people end up can't stand each other and they split and that's the end of it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've been very fortunate. We're in that very, very, upper percentage of bands that stay together this long, and it's very special. I never take it for granted.
Do you see it that way, though, continuing on, that, Hootie and the Blowfish will always be around? Or
feel like
as time goes on, does everybody start
I feel
to
like our friendships are at the foundation of it. And so, yes, I do see it continuing on, just because even when we're not active, the friendships are always there. We still have the same group of college friends that we all hang out with for Gamecock games and all that kind of stuff. And our kids are all friends. The families are all intertwined. So I do see it continuing and lasting for sure, because that's what's at the base of it, And then the music is like, wow, we get to do this part,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So that'll never leave you, will it? You'll always love to, There's something about music, though. Music is what it is. I mean, it
Isn't that
soothes
kind of
the
the
savage
difference
beast.
between and because I know you're a big golfer as well, right? And it's
I am. I'm very passionate about golf.
And so as am I. And so like with golf and music, you can do that for as long as you can damn near do it, right?
Hey, my 81-year-old dad's still beating me in golf.
Yeah.
Yes. Every now and then, like if he has a good day and I'm a little off, he wins every time, because he's got the short game.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is another great thing. A question, Mark. So you're a local kid. Now you're down in South Carolina. You hear a guy that's got some pipes down there. You're doing the college circuit. You guys are getting some traction. When did you have that aha moment when you said, "Hey, we're not a little college band anymore. We got game, and we're on a different plane and a different level."
We always tell everybody the story about the Letterman show that we did, because it was sort of that pivotal moment where in '94 we had released our album, but we were like 180th on the charts, and Hold My Hand was on the radio, but it wasn't a hit yet, and we were still just doing the circuit in the Carolinas for the most part, in the Southeast and a little further out, but just trying to build it up. And then in September of that year, we were on Letterman, and he held our CD up, and he's like, if you don't own this CD, something's wrong with you. And the next week, we sold 17,000 copies that week, and went up to number 40 on the charts or whatever it was, and it never turned back.
And Letterman was.
So that was a pretty pivotal moment right there.
So how long had you guys been together at that point in time? 4 or 5 years?
9 years.
Oh, 9 years.
5 years with our current lineup at that time, yeah.
That's so true of artists, though, isn't it? I mean,
Overnight sensation, 9 years.
Yeah. Well, in the first 4 years of this,
Exactly.
we were in college.
Right.
Literally just playing bars and frat parties and, that kind of
And the
thing.
fact that he graduated with the broadcast journalism degree and did the band in the budding superstar game.
Didn't get
We need
distracted.
stories.
Broadcast journalism major with Mr. Darius Rucker, who we lived on the same dorm hall and had 2 of the same classes my freshman year. So we were meant to be buddies, and started hanging out and realized we knew a lot of the same songs and started playing together.
He's like, "You go to class today?"
He was also a broadcast journalism major, and we would always joke about if we were gonna, if the music thing didn't work out, we would try to be ESPN Sports Center anchors, or do games. We'll still do games together where I'll do play-by-play and he'll do color, and he's really funny, and so we can still do it to this moment.
Riggo, I think we got a Manning cast here, or a Riggo cast here with
Maybe.
you and the
It'd be
guys.
so fun. It'd be so fun.
That would be a
Possible.
blast.
do you recall, and if you don't want to say it, that's fine, but when you guys actually got together, started playing, and did your first couple, let's just say the first 6 months where you actually started going to fraternities and playing and all that stuff, do you recall what you guys charged back then? Or did you just come for the free beer?
Was this the Wolf Brothers?
Very fair question. So the Wolf Brothers were for free beer, for sure. The first gig we ever did, Pappy was an ex-Marine. He gave us a keg of Strohs. He's like, I'll give you a keg of Strohs if you play.
Whoa, Strohs.
So that was the Wolf Brothers. And then
kind of people.
and then once it was Hootie the Blowfish, we started trying to charge at least $200 or $400 for a frat party or whatever. And then eventually it was a grand. By the end of college, we were making $1,000 every time we played a frat party, that kind of thing, which was good money back then.
And how
yeah.
many gigs did you play then? Any idea? Well, I mean, let's say your senior year.
Every weekend.
Every
We tried to play
weekend?
every weekend by the
Wow.
time I was a senior. We didn't, because we didn't want to have other jobs. We wanted to play.
Right.
And that was our income. I never
was
had to
gonna say.
get like a bartending job in college or whatever. I
Wow.
was playing music, you know.
That's
Well,
pretty
and
awesome.
that's pretty serious income,
Yeah.
isn't it? I mean, for a college
was
kid,
really good for a
thinking.
college
I mean,
kid,
I don't
yeah.
split up 4 ways.
To be able to come home with $250 on a Friday night, yeah, in your pocket was great. You know,
Exactly. You've had great fun.
yeah.
And you've got $250 in your pocket. You're not sitting in some job. Taking these people come
No,
through
you're
and getting paying.
buying shots for
Hey,
your buddy at the bar after the
Rich,
show is what you're
exactly.
doing.
Isn't it dire straits? Money for nothing, chicks for free.
Yeah.
See, he knew what he was talking about.
Well, that's the way it works when you're a rock star. By the way, I this morning, as I said, I did my homework and I read. I went through. I don't know about you or you, Todd, because you're a former DJ. I listen to music, and for so many songs that I can never really understand what the words to the music.
You're talking about current day.
Huh?
Current day.
I mean,
like
I've
what
always-
your daughter's listening to on the radio now.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't.
not really
I can't,
music.
So I went.
Sorry.
Well, no, but I'm talking about even if you go. I mean, stuff like what Elvis Presley would sing. For the most part, you can really understand most of his words. But a lot of the music, of course, my ears aren't the best. So I went through today, and I started listening to. What do you call it? Midlife Priceless.
Oh, thank
the
you.
album.
Yeah, thanks.
And I got through a couple, 3 songs, but I realized I couldn't really understand. My ears are such, as you can see, I got my hearing aids in. I couldn't, and I didn't have them on this morning when I was listening. That might have helped. So I went through and I read all the lyrics to
Oh, cool.
everything.
Thank you for doing
And for every song in there, and it was really, and you have that one line that it's so funny that it hit me. That it's actually on your website, which is live young until
Or die young as late as you can.
die young as late as you can.
Yeah, that is apparently from. I wrote that song. I co-wrote that song with a couple of buddies of mine, and one of my buddies brought that line into the song, and he said that W. Bush said that line at his father's funeral at George Bush, the first president, George Bush's funeral.
HW or whatever it was.
Yep. That's where that line came from. That was W saying that line about his father, how he had that spirit of die young as late as you can.
Yeah.
So that's where we got that line from, actually.
And it's a hell of a line too.
It is. It's a really great line.
And I'm thinking the inspiration. I'm kind of curious to know about how you sit down and write lyrics. Not only you're a musician, but you write lyrics and then you write the music. It's all kind of mind-boggling for me to get to do the. Let's just start with the lyrics. I mean, there's obviously you've got Madeline, Claire, and Lucille are a couple of the names of the songs on there, and I'm wondering, are they real people or are they fictional people about
Right.
somebody else?
Well, so for instance, Madeline Claire is my daughter. That song's about my daughter. But then Lucille, I wrote right after B.B. King died. He's come up twice in this podcast.
Well, BB.
And when B.B. died and his guitar was named Lucille,
Yeah.
for whatever reason, that popped into my head when I was writing a song that day, and it became Open Up Lucille, and so that was in honor of B.B. King. But the key to it is there are no rules. So I write what hits me and what I think. When I feel something that I think other people might feel something from that. Like when I listen to my favorite songs and that makes me feel a certain emotion, that's what I'm trying to convey through my music. So that's kind of what guides me a little bit. But there really are no rules. You can write about anything at any time, and you have to have that open spirit to let things hit you to know what to write about. And I try to live life that way, where I'm kind of open to that, like a channel, so to speak.
It's funny because as we started this show today. And I was talking about how once upon a time I saw myself as an artist, and yet at the same time there's such a chasm between what you do, writing music, playing music, performing in front of people, and sports, and I can't help but thinking though, you've said something a couple times today, and I think that it's key, and this is what it's all about, because eventually it's entertainment. And there's other people that'll tell you, oh, it's deeper than that, and maybe it is, but it is ultimately, it's all about making people feel something.
That's it.
Moving them.
And I never really could appreciate that about sports. Well, you get out there, you get beat up, people that cheer.
But that's
No,
what you
but
that's
but
what
it's
you
those
did for the
moments.
community.
But it's those moments that it just what you guys were talking about earlier, how that back in the '80s and the early '90s, that the team here in town really unified this whole town,
There's
and
no
that's the one
question.
thing they're always talking about: Democrats, Republicans, blacks, whites, Asians, Latinos. Everybody
group,
was on the
every
same page.
strata. I mean, that's the thing,
That's right.
John. 57,000 and change at RFK, right? And that dump of a stadium, it was our dump. It was our home. Only 57,000 how hard tickets, which is why that waiting list was so long. Highest TV ratings off the chart. So you think, for what he does in filling arenas, right? But there's not that TV audience also in the volume of people that what you and what your teammates did over that stretch that is it's a
definitely made
moment
us
it's a
feel
moment that is generational and it feels so long ago and how
Right.
fortunate we were to experience that, right?
You-
You try to explain to like your kids or anybody else or what you don't understand what this team meant in this town.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. Other than you show them like the seat from RFK, and
Right. You're like,
wow,
why
you went and kicked that seat. I'm like, yes, I did. Like that's how much
you
that
guys
means
had
to me,
championship parades. I mean, remember the
Yes.
parades
when absolutely when we after 4th and 2 or whatever it was, we were. I remember being in D.C. and I was on the corner of Wisconsin and M, and I was lifted off the ground by the crowd. That's how
The crush
proud it
of
was.
people?
Yeah, my feet came off the ground, and I was high-fiving people that I'll never see again.
Right.
It was
Right.
absolutely amazing.
right.
Yeah, I guess it would have been something to have been there. And of course, me. Now, this is interesting because I don't know if you know this or not, but I was the MVP of this. So, well, you probably do know that, but that wasn't what I was going to tell you. So, I ended up coming back on a plane after the team. I didn't get to ride home with the team because I had to stay the next day for the MVP awards.
You have to do
luncheon.
like the Today Show and some other stuff.
Well, I did that, but it was actually then later that day they had a luncheon for the MVP, and Dick Enberg was there, and he's the one that was the MC, and they did all this stuff, and so I'd missed the team plane, so I had to fly home. So I get home and I'm laying there in the morning, and I wake up and I look at my watch and I go, it's 8 o'clock, and I think they said be out there at 10 o'clock or whatever. And so I don't think anything about it. I turn on TV and I think it's Maureen Bunyan, and she's standing down there and she's going, and I can see the team bus from here. And I'm going,
John's at home.
what the? And then I realized, oh shit! I forgot to set my.
You were still on West Coast time.
I was still on West. I was because as soon as I saw her, I called the park, and the phone rang and it rang and it rang with
Where's
nobody
PJ?
there.
Where is everybody?
Nobody was
Hilarious.
there, and I missed it. I got down there, and like I said, I tell people I get down there, and they got the brooms sweeping out the horse
Man,
poop.
I didn't know that story.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I missed it by that. And the weird thing was, when I was a kid, I was a Yankee fan, and I always used to see these ticker tape
Yeah.
parades in New York City, and I always thought to myself, man, would that be cool to be at a parade like that? I missed mine. Had a
man.
shot the next year, didn't turn out so
That's
well.
right. Didn't
So
turn out.
close.
Yeah.
So close.
I didn't know that story. That's good.
Yeah,
You missed
well,
the,
good
missed
bad
the,
story.
Missed
Yeah.
the parade.
I whiffed on that one. By the way, another thing I thought of this morning, when you guys go on the road and, how many total people, if you know, and maybe it's your business manager would have the answer to this, are people involved with your road show?
That's a great question. Yeah, I'd have to do the count, but I'm guessing 30.
30 people.
Yeah, I think so.
And I
20,
take it
20 to 30.
and
yeah.
part of it travels, I guess, in a semi, right? That you got tractor trailers.
Yeah, I would
the
include the
fact-
drivers. The drivers would bring it over 20 for sure, up to near 30. And so we have two tour on the last tour. It was maybe one. Oh, we each had our own, so that's different.
Your own bus?
Yeah, we had 5 or 6 buses, and then we had I don't know, maybe 3 trucks or something, like 2 trucks.
Yeah, because I remember when we went to
You saw them
Wherewether,
all, yeah.
I saw all those trucks out there.
Yeah.
I remember not in the back of my mind, that sticks in my mind. So, but is that customary? I mean, when you guys plan your road trips, or when you plan your concerts, do you kind of move from state to state? I mean, you don't go like New York one night and L.A. 3 days later.
If we do have to do something like that,
Then you're
where
on a
something
plane.
pops in the schedule, we're on a plane and we'll backline some gear for that. But generally speaking, yeah, it's laid out logistically, geographically, and you just pop to each state in order, and
Then how do you decide on how many gigs you're going to do? I mean, once again, you said it's a democratic process.
Yeah.
Some guys may be lazy like me. Let's do 10. I got enough money. I'm good.
No.
And other guys
How much
may
we
be,
getting at this one?
So in 2019, it was the first tour we had done in like just over a decade. So we wanted to hit every place we could in the country. So we worked with our agent on that, like how many stops would we want to do to play all across the country. I think it was around 50 or something like that.
Is that right?
Yeah, and it was great. And then we also got to go to Europe that fall and do another 12, 15 dates in the UK and Holland.
Oh, you did everything in the UK.
Yeah, and in Holland too. And so that was good. It worked out great.
So now, at this point, right now, I know that you just got back from Tuscany here, actually just yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
What do you got coming up on your calendar moving forward?
I've got about it's like a 20 to 30 show year for me, so I've got maybe 10 or 15 left, and none of it's touring. It's all just sort of shows that pop in that are really good opportunities. So I'm going to do those shows, and one of them's up here in Frederick, Maryland, October 22nd at the Weinberg Center. So that'll be fun. And then I have a new studio down in South Carolina, so I'm getting back into the creative side and writing and recording, and then producing and recording other artists and that sort of thing, and trying to build up a little scene and sound out of South Carolina, like we always have,
Yeah, I know from the interview I saw, like I said that you did last fall, that you don't see any end in sight for Mark Bryan in producing music.
No.
Yeah, I think you mentioned, I forget the bluegrass guy that you said was in his 80s, and he was well, hell,
Doc Watson,
Willie
yeah.
Nelson is still out doing stuff.
He's 90 now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Willie's 90?
Yeah,
I
but
think
it's
so.
like
Something to that weed, man.
It's like Todd, or he's close if he's not already not. But it's like Todd was referring to, just like with it's something you can do well into your later life, and I don't see any reason to stop as long as I can still make people feel something.
Yeah.
That's the key,
Well, you've done a heck of a job.
So before Mark performs all 12 songs here off of his CD here for the first time on the TJRS, and this is Midlife Priceless. I'm sure you can download it, get it Spotify.
It's everywhere.
Get it everywhere. Now, also, so you got a little. I want to hear about the Hootie and the Blowfish little Mexico thing you got going in the new year. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, we just started this Hootie Fest thing this past January, and it's south of Cancun in a resort, and you buy an all-inclusive ticket, and it's for the resort and the concerts and everything. And it was us and Bare Naked Ladies and Blues Traveler and Spin Doctors and Better Than Ezra and Toad the Wet Sprocket, a lot of our good old friends from the 90s. And it was really fun. The music was incredible. The experience worked out really well. It's probably 3,000 to 5,000 people all out on the beach and every night, It was really fun. I didn't know what to expect. I loved it. So I think we're going to go back and do it again this year.
What month did you do that in? January?
It's right at the end of January. Last weekend of January, sort of like Wednesday through Saturday,
And I take it, are there tickets on sale for that right now?
Yes, but I don't.
Not sure where they
I'm not sure if they've done the release for the tickets yet, but they did the announce.
But if
Yeah,
they
I saw the
I think it was
announcement.
an announce, yeah.
But if they go to your website, markbryan.com.
MarkBryanMusic.com, and then or HootieandTheBlowfish.com, both will have information about that once the tickets go
It
on
sounds
sale.
like something similar to what they do in New Orleans every year, right? I mean, something.
Yeah, Jazz Fest. It's that idea where you get like
get a
4 or
bunch of
5 nights. Yep, and
I mean, how cool is that? You just got you go to Cabo all the time, and I've been down where at Cancun in that area and those
Right.
resorts, and what a party, man! That's a great
It's
idea.
an absolute blast. So yeah, it's something to look forward to for next year,
Maybe
especially.
TJRS road trip, John. You know
That's what it
I'm
sounds
saying?
like to me.
Yeah.
I got to learn how to speak Spanish. That's all
I can help.
By the way-
I'm gonna help you.
But you do? You
Just
speak
hang out with Darius and I. We'll go play golf, and we
Okay.
got you covered.
Okay, I can do that. One other thing I wanted to ask you, aside from the music and the golf, and you live in Charleston, do you fish much at all?
A little bit. I went fishing a couple weeks ago with my neighbor, who's just really good. As my friend said about him, if you see him out there, he ain't fishing, he's catching.
See, and this is what I told somebody yesterday because I was talking to a guy who's a big trout fisherman. I said, well, I fall into that category. I'm part of that 90% of the fishermen who catch 10% of the fish. See, there's 10% of the fishermen who catch 90% of the fish. That sounds like your
That's
neighbor.
him, yeah. So we were out a couple weeks ago, and he took me to some sweet spots, and we cleaned up, and
What kind of fish were you catching?
trout and redfish. Spot
And
tail.
redfish.
Spot tail, yeah.
And the other thing I think would be remiss because you are such a big fan, the local guys here, the local franchise. What do you make of them at this point in time? Because you said you gave up your season tickets.
I did.
5-6 years ago.
I don't know what to make of them yet. I think it's the kind of thing where if I see, it always comes down to the players and the mentality of the team and the spirit. A couple years ago when Chase Young was getting everybody fired up and we started to get that spirit again. I get excited when that happens about my team, and I'm just not excited right now. So what I'm hoping is that I will be next year. I'm hoping that there's some momentum builds up and I get excited again. But right now, I'm not excited about the new name. I'm not excited about the ownership. I'm not excited about the team at all right now. I mean, they're just going to have to re-impress me at this point, unfortunately, because I've spent so much of my life being excited about it and then getting let down that I just can't do that anymore. I guess they're going to have to show me something at this point.
And go ahead, Tom.
Well, as we all get older, and that passion where it was appointment, listening, viewing, you cleared the decks. Whatever time the Redskins were playing, right?
Oh, yeah.
That was religion.
There was nobody on the streets.
And now everybody's got better things to do. And that's sad. That's a sad commentary that it's like, I really don't care. Love me, hate me, don't ignore me. And I think too many people feel that way.
I used to get together with my buds even down in Charleston, my D.C. buds. We'd all get together for the games, and they don't even care now.
Right.
We've been doing that less now. So I'm hoping for that it brings back a little bit of that spirit of community that we used to have. You know, maybe or not. I don't know if that's going to happen or not, but I hope so. And I think the defense is something to be excited about. We made some good moves in the offseason. Surprised me. Let's go.
Well, this is Rivera's third year, so this is it. This is pivotal.
I would say
really like Coach
put up
Rivera.
Or shut up.
Really like Coach.
Put up or shut up.
It'll be another go. Yeah. Mark, I got to tell you, it's always good to be around you. It's good to see you. It's good to listen to you perform, and obviously we'll see more of each other as we go down the road. Welcome back to the USA from dreary old Tuscany, Italy.
Thanks for having me on Sport and Money.
Yeah.
So yes.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes. All right, hang on. One more time so we get the full without the mic here. Now, this is the man that represents.
Nobody can see that.
It's also a man who has 2 golden retrievers, and the male one is named Riggins.
Riggins, not right. Riggo.
Well, he's both. I call him Riggo, too. And I have a song, a puppy song that I put out under the moniker Bark Bryan, just for fun. And you can find it on YouTube, and it's called The Puppy Song by Bark Bryan. And the first lyrics of the song are, Riggo and Rosie had a real tough day. So I want you all to check it out.
I definitely will check that out.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, cool.
See, you're going to see a spike.
All right, well, for Todd and myself, a spike. Yeah, that's the caller, right?
Exactly.
Anyway, Mark, thank you for joining us
Thank you
today.
guys so much. It's meant a lot to me.
Mark, Midlife Priceless, Mark's latest solo album, and still Hootie and the Blowfish.
Not like Soulfish.
I'm not used to being around
Soulfish.
I'm not used to being around celebrities. They make me nervous. Anyway, just let me say thank you, Mark, for joining us.
Oh, I had a blast. Thanks, guys.
Riggo out.
There isn't anything cuter than a puppy, not a kitty or a birdie or a bunny or a guppy. You could be a Grinch or a stuck-up yuppie, but what you wanna bet? You're gonna wanna pet the puppies. Riggo and Rosie had a real tough day, cuddling cozy till it's time to play, nibbling ears and noses, tails and toes. They take a little drink from the garden hose. Might be a sister, could be a brother. You can barely tell the difference from one to the other. Fur so soft, melt your heart like butter. Whoops. Now they're under the covers. There isn't anything cuter than a puppy, not a kitty or a birdie or a bunny or a guppy. You could be a Scrooge or a stuck-up yuppie, but what you wanna bet? You're gonna wanna pet the puppies. Now I love you and you love me, and these puppies we love infinity. Like fluffy rays of sunshine days, never ceasing to amaze. If G-O-D were a D-O-G, I can't say it would astonish me. They love so unconditionally, show you how good life can be. There isn't anything cuter than a puppy, not a kitty or a birdie or a bunny or a guppy. You could be a Grinch immature, stuck-up yuppie. But what you wanna bet? If you don't, you'll regret. Even if they're wet, you're gonna wanna pet the puppies. Yeah, you know you wanna pet the puppies. Everybody loves the puppies.